There was once a time when people believed banks were untouchable. Massive buildings stood in the center of every city, like modern fortresses, built from glass, steel, and authority. Inside them sat men and women in expensive suits who controlled the movement of money itself. To most people, banks represented stability, power, and trust. Generations grew up believing that money could only exist safely inside those institutions. Among those people was a young man named Daniel. Daniel lived an ordinary life in a crowded modern city. Every morning, he woke before sunrise, boarded a packed train, and spent long hours working at a small marketing company. Like millions of others, he deposited his salary into a traditional bank account every month without question. His parents had taught him that banks were necessary for survival. Keep your money in the bank, his father always said. That's how responsible people live. And so Daniel obeyed. But slowly, the world around him began to change. At first, the changes seemed small and unimportant. Fewer people carried cash. Stores encouraged digital payments. Young entrepreneurs talked constantly about crypto, FinTech apps, and AI-powered investing tools. Daniel ignored most of it. He considered those things temporary trends created by impatient young people. Then one afternoon, something happened that disturbed him deeply. Daniel needed to send money urgently to his younger sister who lived in another city. She had fallen sick and needed medication immediately. Confidently, Daniel opened his banking app to transfer the money, only to discover that the transaction had failed. He tried again. Another failure. Minutes turned into hours as customer support kept him waiting endlessly. Panicked, Daniel rushed to the nearest bank branch. The building was crowded with frustrated customers. Some complained about delayed international transfers. Others argued about frozen accounts and hidden charges. One elderly man shouted angrily because his card had stopped working without explanation. The employees looked overwhelmed, trapped behind counters while dozens of impatient people demanded answers.
Daniel waited nearly 3 hours before finally reaching a representative.
"I'm sorry," the banker said calmly, barely looking at him. "The system is currently experiencing technical issues. Please try again tomorrow." Tomorrow? But his sister needed help today. As Daniel stepped outside into the cold evening rain, he felt powerless for the first time in years. The system he trusted completely had failed him when he needed it most. Then something unexpected happened. Sitting beneath a nearby bus stop was a young woman around his age, calmly using her phone while rain poured around her. Daniel noticed that she seemed relaxed despite the chaos inside the bank. Curious and frustrated, he sat beside her. "Everyone inside is losing their minds," he said, "and you look perfectly calm." The woman smiled slightly. "Because I stopped depending entirely on traditional banks a long time ago." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" She held up her phone. "I just transferred money internationally in less than 30 seconds. Daniel stared at her screen in disbelief. "No bank branch?" he asked. "No paperwork? No waiting? No waiting." The woman explained that she used digital finance platforms, online banks, and decentralized payment systems that operated faster than traditional institutions. She talked about FinTech companies that were rebuilding the financial world from the ground up using technology instead of bureaucracy. Before leaving, she said something Daniel would never forget. The end of traditional banking has already started. Most people simply haven't realized it yet. That sentence stayed in his mind for weeks. Daniel became obsessed with understanding what she meant. Every night after work, he researched the evolution of finance. He discovered that a silent revolution was spreading across the world. Millions of people were abandoning old banking habits and moving toward faster, more flexible digital systems. Online banks without physical branches were gaining millions of users. AI was replacing financial advisors.
Blockchain technology allowed people to move money globally without middlemen. Digital wallets were replacing physical cash.
Young investors traded stocks and crypto directly from smartphones while sitting in cafes. Entire businesses operated without ever stepping inside a bank. The more Daniel learned, the more uncomfortable he became. He realized that traditional banks were built for another era, an era before smartphones, artificial intelligence, and global digital connectivity. Their systems were slow because they had been designed decades earlier for a world that moved far slower than today's economy. But modern technology had changed human expectations forever. People no longer wanted to wait days for transactions. They wanted instant access. They wanted control. They wanted financial freedom without endless restrictions. Daniel also noticed another pattern throughout history. Every powerful industry eventually faces disruption. There was a time when newspapers believed the internet could never replace them. There was a time when taxi companies laughed at ride-sharing apps. There was a time when movie rental stores dominated entire cities before streaming services destroyed them almost overnight. The strongest systems often collapse slowly at first, then suddenly all at once. Banks were no exception. Months passed, and Daniel began testing some of these new financial technologies himself. He opened an online banking account that approved him within minutes instead of weeks. He used investment apps powered by artificial intelligence that analyzed market trends instantly. He discovered platforms where people could send money globally without outrageous fees or delays. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt financially empowered rather than controlled. But not everyone around him understood. When Daniel tried explaining these changes to his coworkers, most dismissed him. Some laughed and said traditional banks would survive forever because they were too big to fail. Others insisted people would always trust physical bank buildings more than digital platforms. Daniel realized something important. Most people resist change not because change is impossible, but because change is uncomfortable. Human beings naturally cling to familiar systems, even when better alternatives already exist. One evening, Daniel visited the same bank branch again. This time, something felt different. The lobby was quieter. Several counters had closed permanently. Many services had already moved online. The building that once felt powerful now seemed strangely outdated. As he looked around, Daniel understood a painful truth. Technology does not care about tradition. It only rewards efficiency. The world was moving toward a future where financial systems would become faster, smarter, and increasingly decentralized. Artificial intelligence would automate countless financial tasks. Blockchain would reduce dependence on centralized institutions. Digital currencies would reshape global commerce. Younger generations who grew up with smartphones would naturally prefer digital-first financial systems over old bureaucratic structures. The transformation was already happening silently in the background. Most people simply hadn't noticed because revolutions rarely announce themselves loudly in the beginning. They begin quietly, one transaction at a time, one innovation at a time, one generation at a time. Daniel eventually stopped fearing the future. Instead, he decided to prepare for it. He studied financial technology, AI, and digital economics with the same seriousness previous generations once studied traditional banking systems. He understood that the goal was not to fear innovation, but to adapt alongside it. Because history rewards those who move with the future rather than against it.
Years later, Daniel watched as many of the predictions he once doubted became reality. Physical bank branches continued disappearing. Digital payments became the global standard. AI-driven financial systems grew smarter every year. Young entrepreneurs built fortunes entirely online without relying heavily on traditional institutions. The world had changed, and the people who adapted early gained the greatest advantage. The truth is that the end of traditional banking is not really about banks at all. It is about transformation. It is about humanity moving from slow systems to instant connection, from centralized control to digital empowerment, from limitation to accessibility. Every generation experiences a moment when the old world quietly begins fading away, while the new world rises in its place. Most people fail to recognize that moment until it is too late. But those who see change early position themselves ahead of the future. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all.
The future never waits for permission. It arrives silently, reshapes the world, and rewards those courageous enough to embrace it. The end of traditional banking has already started. The only question remaining is whether you will evolve with the future or be left behind by it. Thank you for watching.